The culture is absolutely...
The gut ain't running there. Calling both games.
Denver is in the same category. An outstanding defense that was wasted thanks to lackluster offensive play and scheming. However, unlike their season, they chose not to check it down on a 3rd and long. They chucked it deep into triple coverage. The already excellent defense was reinforced quite heartily with Randy Gregory, DJ Jones, and K'Wan Williams, which should be huge for facing off against their rivals. Even then, there was an empty feeling inside of them. They need a quarterback. Everything has been lining up for the Broncos to pursue the services of Aaron Rodgers before he chose to stay in Green Bay. Every hater was celebrating this misfortune. But descending from football heaven is another franchise quarterback. From Seattle comes a great face in Russell Wilson. And Denver is betting everything that he's going to be the piece that takes them back into contending status. Hell, it worked with Peyton Manning, why wouldn't it work here? The cost is irrelevant. 2 firsts and 2 seconds? Noah Fant? Horsecock Locke and Shelby Harris? Fuck the picks, the Rams proved that you need to go YOLO for any chance at a ring. Denver is merely copying accordingly. Chef Russ is already cooking up a storm at Mile High. He's burning the stadium with an efficiency that few quarterbacks before him have equaled. John Elway looks from above and smiles at this smoldering ruin, for they have their quarterback to compete with the big boys. Hopefully. Denver's problems last season were so easy to identify a toddler could do it. Terrible quarterback play and god-awful offensive scheming. Both of these issues were of critical priority to them, and the hope is that they've been fixed with 2 moves. The first, their new coach, the Aaron Rodgers Whisperer, and his new protege, Russell Wilson. He's currently opening up roughly the 422nd craft beer and new American restaurant in the city. There's a reason why they broke the bank to trade for Wilson. The Broncos have roughly everything else they need to get to the promised land. A strong running back tandem, unsung offensive line, elite defense. If some wide receivers can emerge to greatness, they've got a chance to win their division. It won't be done with Tim Patrick, though. He tore his ACL. Bummer. I'd be giddy if I'm in Denver. They wanted Aaron Rodgers here, but to be fair, this isn't a bad consolation prize. The AFC, just like last season, is going to be a bloodbath. You can make the argument for nearly every team to be able to reach the promised land of the playoffs. And as a fan of the game, you can't ask for much more. The AFC East is pretty cut and dry, though. Buffalo will be taking that division with ease. The AFC North will go to Baltimore. Considering that they're finally healthy and able to field a respectable team should do wonders for them. To me, the AFC South is a coin flip between Indy and Tennessee, and I'm going to err on the side of the Titans for the time being. It's very close, though, just like the AFC West. Every team has a shot at winning the division, and for my sake, I'm going to go bold and pick the Broncos. I know, insane, but they actually have a QB and hopefully non-shitty play calling. That's all they needed. And as for the wildcards, it's a tough call, but I'm going to go with Kansas City, the Chargers, and the Bengals. I personally can't wait to see how wrong I am in these predictions, as always. Maybe they'll be as slow to develop as my vid schedule. Chef Russ is returning to the restaurant he built from the ground up. Freshly extended to secure the Broncos at quarterback, Seattle isn't very fond of his presence. Because nothing says quality fanbase like booing the shit out of the guy that carried your franchise to relevance for years. Although for what it's worth, Geno Smith is carrying that torch well. Dude hasn't played this well since he was a goddamn Mountaineer. With a sneakily strong defense, it's enough for the Seahawks to dictate play. Literally how? Denver has Nathaniel Hackett calling plays. He of leading Aaron Rodgers to humiliating January losses. By halftime, things aren't scary yet, but we're coming to a special moment of the game. The Broncos are participating in the Get the Ball into the End Zone challenge. Here's try number 1. Now for try number 2. Dale Earnhardt time, number 3. On the goal line for try 4. They think they have Marshawn Lynch or something? Oh, good news, Denver. You triggered the bonus game. Give me number 5. Number 6. Fucking number 7. Now we see why the Seahawks passed the ball on the 1-yard line. Being gluttons for punishment, I have good news for you, Broncos fans. You get to do it again. Yes, a 3rd red zone series. Lucky number 8. 9th try. Holy shit, oh no, there's a false start. They gotta do it again. Go back for shot 10. Chef Russ cooking up something for number 11? Expert play caller, are you, Nathan? Seattle's doing a damn good job of making you look awful, but my friends, the best is yet to come. Get ready for the final drive. 4 minutes on the clock on their own 22 and all 3 timeouts at their disposal. Any coach worth his ass can get his team into field goal range with this. Unfortunately, people tend to forget that Nathaniel Hackett was a god-awful play caller in Jacksonville in 2018. He brought out that form here. They burn 1 minute off the clock and gain 8 yards. Brilliant stuff. All 3 timeouts and they're still butchering clock like it's the remains of Secretariat. Think injuries for Seattle to blink first. You're trying to save your ass, Nate, but they finally get into Seahawk territory with a minute left. It's 4th down and 5. What do they end up doing? Let the clock go all the way to 20 seconds and then use a timeout. This is mind-numbing enough, but it gets better. Denver just said fuck it and tried a 64-yard field goal. Brandon McMahon has never made a kick past 60 yards in his entire career. You can't make this shit up. Denver had 2 timeouts and 20 seconds left. It's statistically more likely to gain 5 yards than it is to kick a 60-plus yarder. Nate, you have a franchise quarterback the team traded a Hall of Futures and threw hundreds of millions of dollars at. Fucking use him! I'll be remiss to say that he did use those timeouts when Seattle was trying to knee the ball. He's trying to get his opponent to disconnect to the fucking pass screen in Madden. A goddamn 13-year-old could manage that game clock better than Hackett did. Fuck any of you watching could do the same. Dude near single-handedly cost his team the game. He made Pete Carroll look like a genius in 2022. This was an absolute masterclass of hackery. Nathaniel, you may have lost your first game, but you are the winner of something special. Lol cow of the week. If he keeps being this much of a fucking moron with clock management and play calling, we may have something special on our hands, folks. Broncos Nation, let's ride the short bus to practice. Guys, I think Nathaniel Hackett may be completely overmatched as a head coach. Why do I think this? Oh, there are a couple reasons. Mainly the fact that he's total shit at game planning, and play calling, and clock management, and anything related to being a head coach of a football team. The Broncos still can't score a damn touchdown in the red zone. They've developed a phobia of scoring inside the 20. Chef Russ is abandoning his stove and burning the bottom of a pot while trying to cook ramen. Thank the Lord they're playing the Texans, or else this game would have gotten out of hand. It's the 4th quarter. The game is tied. All of Denver wants to fall into a black hole. Nathaniel Hackett couldn't call a pizza delivery, so bad at it. And you should be thankful it's only that. They'll still need a miracle to win.
Play fake. Wilson taking a shot deep for his tight end, and what a catch!
Oh my God, Denver, you did it! You scored a touchdown! This is the greatest accomplishment in your franchise's history. Winning one of the ugliest games I have ever seen. I don't know how it happened, but I'm even more skeptical of Hackett than I am now. This was a game. It's the only thing I can say with certainty. When you cross a self-described offensive genius and a coach who's so inept at game management he has to hire outside help to make sure he doesn't fuck it up, you get an absolute affront to anything resembling offense. There are coaches from the 1970s facepalming in disgust over what they're seeing in this contest. USFL matches showcased more competence in this regard than seen here. Sunday Night Football turned into a Benny Hill sketch. Missed passes, drops galore, fumbles, 3-and-outs, and the occasional outstanding defensive play. Both of these teams can at least offer that. Denver's is the only reason why they're not staring down the barrel of 0-3. Perhaps Jimmy G will save us all from this horror.
Second and 10 from his own end zone. Ball's out of the end zone's a safety.
Jimmy Jesus rose on the 3rd day to simply commit an Orlovsky. Stepped out of the end zone for a safety, almost doubling Denver's point total. However, great fears must eventually be realized. San Francisco actually managed to kick a field goal to go up by 5. After more terrible offense and Russell Wilson hearkening back to the days of bailing out the incompetence of everyone around him, Denver must overcome their boogeyman, scoring a touchdown in the red zone. Their greatest phobia must be conquered.
Extra offensive line. Wilson gives. Gordon, touchdown, Denver!
Oh my God, Denver, you did it! You scored a touchdown in the red zone! This is the most glorious miracle your franchise has ever received. Another ridiculously ugly win to bring Denver to a tie for the division lead. Defense led the day for you, Broncos. You may not have gotten Aaron Rodgers from the Packers, but you got the Mike McCarthy spirit from them. You know damn well what I mean by that. The Raiders are desperate. Being the only 0-3 team in the league has its perks. One of them being you have absolutely nothing to lose. Josh McDaniels may be awful, but the coach opposing him has no idea what the hell he's doing. In the friendly confines of the black hole, McDaniels must make himself comfortable with his surroundings. The two things that will win the day for the Raiders: the running game and crucial turnovers. Melvin Gordon gifted a ball to Amik Robertson so blatantly you should call it a tax write-off for charitable donations. Josh Jacobs, however, was not into charity. He was into taking what was his. That being one of the best games he's had in his career. Las Vegas potentially saves their season with a crucial win. It's funny if you're Denver. Spend all this time and energy trying to fix your issues at quarterback and shitty offensive scheming, yet they've made no progress on that front. In fact, I might argue it's even worse than it was last year. That team didn't have sky-high expectations. This one does. And Broncos fans, I hope you like cock and ball torture as well. Javonte Williams is out for the year with a severe knee injury. Jesus, this might be career-destroying. Another greatest game. For fuck's sake, don't these teams realize I still have to do an NHL season bid? I don't want to talk about the shitty Colts. Then again, I can mock low-hanging fruit in Nathaniel Hackett. These teams really need no introduction. They're both trash. The Indianapolis Colts are blessed with a cooked Matt Ryan, an underperforming offensive line, and are doomed to mediocrity. They tied the Texans. That is all. The Denver Broncos threw their short-term future and hundreds of millions of dollars at a man whose idea of cooking is putting metal utensils in a microwave. Their trips to the red zone are as successful as discourse between political parties. The head coaches are dead men walking. One's a man who's an Andrew Luck away from being anything relevant. One who's once again experiencing life without Aaron Rodgers to carry him to relevance. How does it get worse? Both teams are without their top running backs for the game. And then some. Kill me now. At what once was Mile High Stadium, it is a complete shit show. Words cannot describe how terrible this football game is to witness. Jesus, another player's having balance issues? Just have him watch McGruber on the plane ride home, he'll be okay. At least that man was able to leave. People paid to see this in person. They should immediately be refunded, and should then sue the league for deceptive advertising. Inept offensive drive after inept offensive drive is the reward for our investment of time into watching the football night that defies God itself. Amazon paid almost $80 million to broadcast this shitfest. Everyone working this game, from announcers to cameramen to production trailer crew to paid fans in the tents outside, wish they were somewhere else. There's not enough money in the world worth watching this dreck. It took Indianapolis almost an entire half to score points. Congratulations. It's times like these where I wish Bane would blow up the stadium. He wasn't a villain, he was a visionary. For every second that passes in this match, an innocent child is traumatized at the sight of such horrific atrocities. The NFL's response: fuck them Kings. There is money to be made, and there are plenty of suckers born every minute. Case in point, all of us watching right now. Somehow Indianapolis managed to kick another field goal. We are tied at 6. This entire game is a war crime. If this game goes to overtime, Putin should just nuke the stadium for the greater good. It's looking more and more appealing with how useless the Nathaniel Hackett offense is. Even worse, a field goal kick is blocked. Our punishment must be more severe. Our spirits must be broken. We must witness garbage that even the USFL would find of poor taste. Forcing players to play on 3 days rest has always done wonders for a quality product. The game isn't even about scoring points. It's wondering if they could even move the ball forwards. Roe v. Wade may have been overturned in federal court, but we're all wishing this game could be aborted. Denver has regained the lead, fortunately, so we may be spared more horrors. They're even moving the football, an extraordinarily rare sight. Chef Ross will cook with fire.
throws off balance, picked off at the 4-yard line.
There wasn't even a receiver in that vicinity, Russ. This man's starting so many fires that Smokey the Bear is weeping in a corner like a baby. Unfortunately for us, Matt Ryan has caught on fire by proxy. While he should have a ring, his offensive line lacks any sort of ring to protect him. He is going to be picked up off the field like a spatula. By the end, he will cry 3 words. Timeout, San Diego. Here is where Denver begins to be bribed with oats to push forward. Finally, someone is once again managing to move the football. Incredible indeed. Russell Wilson is finally starting to earn that ridiculous contract he was signed to. You've converted a crucial 4th down to force Indianapolis to burn their timeouts. Just don't do anything stupid.
Wilson to the end zone, and it's intercepted!
Jeff Russ thought it was a good idea to throw a grenade in a fryer. This explosion manages to wake up the withered husk of Matt Ryan from his O-line-induced slumber. With a combination of Denver failing to do anything on offense, an exhausted defense, and a little luck, the Colts escape from the glue factory to get into field goal range. Please miss the kick, Chase. For the greater good.
Hello again, everybody.
Fuck! I don't want overtime of this shitty game! It's like Thursday Night Football itself. Nobody asked for this shit! Even the Broncos fans are leaving in droves. I don't blame them. They've got work in the morning. In fact, I'd just call off sick if I went to this game. Being exposed to this kind of radioactive football should be a valid reason for a long weekend. The football gods do not care for such petty transgressions. Indianapolis gets first shot at trying to do anything. And they somehow do because momentum is indeed a thing. Nathaniel Hackett should learn about that sometime. Unfortunately for us, Indy can't seal the deal because their team is a perpetual hamster wheel. We are stuck on it as they kick another field goal. All we want is one thing, Denver. Don't kick a fucking field goal. Jeff Russ has to at least be able to cook a goddamn Hot Pocket. He's managed to put it in the microwave. A stunning revelation. 4th and 1 near the goal line is here. They're going for the kill. Please aim right between the eyes.
Surveys, good protection, slides. Broken up in the end zone. Gilmore on Sutton.
It's a 4th and 1.
Defensive.
Where the hell are you out of shotgun? Just run a QB sneak under center. It's not hard. We are going to petition that both of these teams are given losses for this match. There is no logical situation in our minds where the Colts are given a win. They once again won in spite of themselves, not because of their efforts. This game confirmed it. Nathaniel Hackett needs to be fired now. He's completely overmatched and incompetent in his current role. His play calling is completely useless. He fails to utilize any of his offensive weapons, and his only wins have been the result of his defense balling out. He is Freddie Kitchens minus the human thumb. Urban Meyer was shit too, but at least he knew how to grind it out. I've seen more offensive production out of that dude who got decked by Bobby Wagner at the Rams game. Hell, if he can press charges against the Rams, Broncos fans should be able to press charges against Hackett. Either way, both of these fan bases are in hell. Denver's especially. Geno Smith is a much better quarterback than Russell Wilson at this time. They gave up 3 first-rounders, several regular players, and $240 million for a midget Drew Lock. Glorious fleecing. In conclusion, this was indeed one of the games of our time.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Broncos country.
Oh, God. We have to watch Russ cook up a disease-ridden souffle on prime time yet again. It's times like these when I wish euthanasia was legal. I don't want to live in a world where Brandon Staley and Nathaniel Hackett fumble through the playbook of a cheesecake factory. I would wish this was the worst we had, but no, my friends. The NFL was the one cooking up an MVP performance. This was the greatest display of ref ball I've seen in my lifetime. Never has there been such impactful nudging and hackneyed interpretation of flavor of the week rules in a single game. You inadvertently fall into the quarterback when evading a blocker? Roughing the passer. You touch a quarterback anywhere on his body? Roughing the passer. The defender jumps off sides? False start on the offense. You're not a reputable cornerback in the league? Get charged with 11 billion pass interference penalties. Come on, no need to rig the game like this. Denver's shit enough to lose it on their own. You'd think someone would try to take advantage of such bullshit, but the Broncos are too busy comprehending the meaning of the Grinch who stole Christmas. The Chargers are simply trying to save their timeouts to reinvest in overtime. This guy's supposed to be a mastermind? Dude makes Anthony Lynn look like Bill Belichick. In the end, we all lose because someone unfortunately has to win. And the NFL queefed in our faces with another controversial play. What the hell was that guy doing in front of the fair catch anyway? Honestly, I don't give a shit. Just end the damn game. Brandon Staley was saved from his own incompetence and the refs were awarded Offensive Players of the Week. Dustin Hopkins made 4 field goals with a fucked hammy though. Someone give that guy a 6-figure bonus. A shit show if there ever was one. If you thought things couldn't get worse for the Broncos, Russell Wilson will be shelved for the match like the Danger Witch. Perhaps his Wolverine blood will help him to heal his awful quarterbacking as well. Speaking of bloodlines, Brett Rippon hopes to imitate his uncle and play against the Jets. Too bad he got his mid-90s score. It resulted in one of the ugliest games of football seen in hours. We can talk about how beautiful it is to see Breece Hall play, but like all good things, he must die in this NFL season. Jets fans must suffer through Elijah Moore demanding a trade and Zach Wilson failing as the white Lamar Jackson. It was a showcase of modern art. Both teams threw cans of tomato soup onto NFL playbooks and lectured us all about drowning in the sauce. Speaking of which, Sauce Gardner doused the Broncos offense in hot sauce and ate them like chicken wings. Denver's ineptitude merely had them cook themselves. In the Jets' defense's relentless feasting on Nathaniel Hackett's kindergarten scheming, they're now 5-2. They won the battle of terrible offense by default. Denver's nightmare season is forced forward as they perpetually wet themselves. Word of advice: wear rubber. It'll prevent your piss from staining the fabric. I was wondering when the traditional Jags home game in London would take place. Jacksonville tends to do oddly well here. Hell, they're bursting out to a quick double-digit lead. Chef Russ is too busy doing high knees on the sidelines to notice Trevor Lawrence is going to make his case. The case was botched during the opening argument at the 1-yard line. Now we see why the NFL put this game behind a paywall on ESPN+. No one should have to witness such horrors. This game was as much a shit show as the British Parliament. Unfortunately, Nathaniel Hackett's tenure as Broncos coach will last longer than 45 days. Jacksonville tries to fight to take the lead in the 4th, but their defense chose to pay tribute to clowns by bumbling around and ruining everything. They gave up red zone touchdowns to Denver. Multiple red zone touchdowns. That is damning all its own. You sure this is a pretty good team, Trevor? Since you opened your mouth, the Jags have lost 5 in a row. Everyone lost today. Jacksonville's back in hell and Denver's stuck on the ride that will never end. False hope consumes Broncos fans' hope. I can definitely relate to that. Miami. The time is now to strike for a shot at another ring. It's been far too long since they've come close to that summit. But with these offseason moves, with this offense at full strength, with their solid weapons on defense, who stops them? The answer is clear. They need to add. What they could use is a really nice piece on the edge to pair with Jalen Phillips. And guess who's selling an edge piece? Denver. It's not Von Miller, but Bradley Chubb is a beast all his own. Dolphins fans are now getting Chubbs of their own. Remember, they still have San Francisco's first rounder thanks to the Trey Lance deal. They can use that pick instead of their own to move for him. Plus, the Dolphins are looking to sign him long term. Denver even took Chase Edmonds in order for Mike McDaniel to get his favorite toy in Jeff Wilson. If Chubb stays healthy, Miami has a legit case to claim the AFC this year. Broncos country was rumored to be riding Jerry Jeudy off into the sunset as well, but they demanded too much for anyone to pounce on it. They have some injuries at edge, so grab a temporary placeholder in Jacob Martin. Let's ride. Nathaniel Hackett and Todd Downing walk into a bar. That's the only thing they can do. Going further with this comment is impossible with the offenses they run. Whether it's Tennessee trying to make Ryan Tannehill the focal point of the offense or the Broncos riding to their doom, it's horrifying to watch. At least the Titans managed to have a couple of plays where they didn't look like shit offensively. What about Denver? Let me get this straight. You have a week to refresh yourselves and you still can't do a damn thing with a franchise QB you threw hundreds of millions of dollars at? The Titans didn't even have anything close to resembling a healthy defense. Yet Denver rode all the way to 56 yards of offense for most of the second half. It's so bad I'm not surprised Colorado legalized psychedelic drugs. You needed to watch this shit. I wouldn't trust Hackett to run a computer. He'd crash it once he hit the power button. Nathaniel Hackett has been a dead man walking since week 1. What's that, Mr. Walton? You forced to give up play calling since I'm overmatched as a head coach? Where do I sign up? Little does he know that the Broncos aren't cash poor like Mark Davis is. He will accept his lavish buyout like a man. It's probably gonna come sooner rather than later. People willingly watched this game in person. They spent actual money to watch the Broncos offense ride the stadium into a black hole. The Raiders welcome you into this horrible abyss, as this is how the match ended up. Terrible offense being laid to waste at the hands of defensive might. At least we can say this about the Broncos defense imitating the 77 Falcons. The Raiders, though? Against Denver, maybe? It turned into a battle of the field goal. The end zone is a sacred land. Its virgin grass cannot be contaminated by human feet. It's a place where the only touchdowns are scored in the first half. And the misery doesn't end there. Overtime awaits. Because it's a fitting punishment for our arrogance. The fortunate thing is the torture is brief before we are put to our death.
Fake to Jacobs. Carr loads up. Adams is open. Walk-off touchdown. A sweep of the Broncos for Las Vegas.
A hilarious outcome. Las Vegas wins a game and fucks up their crafted tank for their next quarterback. The Broncos still can't solve the intricacies of scoring more than 16 points in a game. The only real winner in this match was Seattle. They went from laughing stock to laughing at all of us in 3 months. How the turntables. Every time someone says that the Denver Broncos have reached rock bottom, I have to laugh. Have you people not realized that this is a bottomless pit? The Broncos can only go lower from here. Against a team that's been destroyed since week 5, they were absolutely outclassed in all phases of play. Russell Wilson was hailed as a savior by myself included. Week after week, he has shown us to be a false prophet, a deceiver of the common man as he turns water into corrosive acid. Chef Russ is indeed a talent. It takes a good bit to be outplayed by Sam Darnold. Broncos country was convincingly ushered out of the stadium in the first goddamn half. The Panthers just needed positive steps, and this was one of them. Remember, it can and will get much worse than this, Denver. The defense is yelling at Wilson, and Hackett wouldn't know if a fucking nuclear explosion's going off. That first you're giving to Seattle looks more and more appetizing with every passing week. I had Denver winning the AFC West to start the year. It's probably one of the coldest takes I've ever had on this shitty channel. And I've had some awful, awful moments. Remember, Broncos fans, last week was merely the worst game you saw at that time. Watching this anemic excuse of an offense try to cook a bowl of cereal results in nothing hitting the damn bowl. There's a new strategy they're trying. Can't score in the red zone? Don't go there to begin with. In fact, don't score a touchdown all goddamn game. Nobody is. Baltimore's Greg Roman empire is still crumbling in front of us. Their offensive centerpiece in Lamar got busted up, so they had to bring in his non-union equivalent in Tyler Huntley. The difference in this game is Lamarginal. When you dial up a reverse that a fucking wideout chucks into triple coverage, you call that genius? I call it self-destruction. The Broncos somehow have a lead of more than 3 points, which is cause for alarm. That stout defense can't be rewarded for their outstanding play. They'll be the spitting image of the 77 Falcons and enjoy it. I can't believe it's not Lamar Jackson, somehow leading a comeback drive to kill off whatever's left of Brandon Perna's sanity. You have to make it slow and methodical as well just to drive it in further. But they won't die, for the ride never ends.
Hill in motion. Huntley takes it himself. Blocked and a touchdown.
I'd be really fucking alarmed if I were the Ravens. You only won this one because Denver's offense is a struggle session against itself. At this rate, I think the Broncos defense alone could beat the Broncos. It's not much of an accomplishment. Tune in next week as the Steelers somehow end up winning that game by Deus Ex Machina. Broncos country became a bastardized shell of itself by week 1. The rest of the time has merely been watched by sick fucks to see how far they can fall. It's been a damn long one. Good news for all the masochists out there, Denver is getting completely destroyed by the kings of the division. Their cheap parlor tricks bamboozle the most simple-minded of folk. And in the blink of an eye, it's 27-0 with what should be the end of this game. And me making traditional snide remarks about the Broncos riding the electric chair. However, in the most frustrating experience this side of watching Season 8 of Game of Thrones, Denver finally manages to do things on offense that don't involve shitting themselves. Oh, now the offense shows a pulse. Now Russell Wilson plays as advertised. Now you put up more than 20 points in a fucking game. What the hell was this at any point throughout the season? Even the gods are livid at this sudden surge of competence. You've turned this into a one-score game, have you? Well, too bad. No matter what you do, you cannot win. Denver must pay the blood toll for this travesty. Russell Wilson, KO'd after a hit on the ground. Suffered enough of a lump on his head that you can call it a bathroom in his mansion. With Brett Rippon, there is no chance. A back-breaking interception all but ends the game, despite Denver's hastily put-together comeback. Even in what could be the best they played all year, it still ends in agony. Broncos country, let's dive. The less said about this slog, the better. Both starting QBs are out, so Denver must ride to battle with Brett Rippon under center against Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy was knocked out of the game early due to a concussion. If Arizona wasn't enough of a meme already, the man under center is now Trace McSorley. Now, only if Broncos country could face the Cardinals every week, they'd not only be able to win, but score more than 16 points in a fucking game. It only goes to show how completely dead Arizona is as a franchise. Not only losing to a walking punchline in the league, but already starting to see the foundations unravel. Cardinals Thanos has taken an indefinite leave of absence due to health issues, and will probably be snapped out of existence with a shred of dignity as a result. They foolishly thought that bringing in a failed college coach would jolt them out of a dark age. It's only made things worse. I figured this was going to be a weak year for the Cards, but this is outright pathetic. I think the NFL expected these two teams to have much better records when they scheduled this. All of these Christmas games were awful. But since neither team has their top draft picks, we can at least have a spirited matchup. Well, at least one of these disappointments managed to show up. If you merely looked at this game, you'd think that the Rams were still in Super Bowl form. That's how bad Denver was. It wasn't even a situation of bad luck. The whole team got destroyed by LA's sloppy seconds. Russell Wilson went from a star acquisition to being roasted by Patrick Star on the Nickelodeon broadcast. Yes, children were subjected to this horror. Quite possibly the worst performance of his career. And might be the worst game in Broncos history. The team's out of sorts. The players are fighting each other on the sidelines. Nathaniel Hackett staring into a void as the foundations burn to the ground. The team is utterly routed. Everything is lost. Critical mission failure. As I said, never say you've hit rock bottom, because there's always a way to go lower. The Broncos are proof of that. They're not just in darkness, they're in advanced darkness. At least Nathaniel Hackett lives up to the first syllable of his last name. The more time passes, the narrative that he was merely brought in to lure Aaron Rodgers to Denver gains more and more credence. We all knew he was getting fired at the end of the year. But Broncos brass saw how terrible the team was against the totally destroyed Rams and just sent him on his permanent vacation early. They were humiliated on a national stage nearly every week. Hackett didn't just lose the locker room. Players openly defied him within earshot. A piss-poor leader offering nothing of value. Ruining everything he touched, completely overmatched in all aspects. This guy was hailed as an offensive genius, yet was so offensive that he had Broncos fans yearning for Pat Shurmur. To be honest, this dude should have been fired after week 1. How he butchered the game clock and play calling against the Seahawks was legendary incompetence, and quite possibly jackknifed their entire season. They hired a game planning manager for him in week 3 and he gave up play calling a month ago. The fuck do you do here, man? Hackett was far from the only problem in Denver, but they had to make a move. They're locked into Russell Wilson. He's regressed to a hollow shell of himself physically. You have to figure out something there. Time has revealed Hackett to be nothing more than a thinner Freddie Kitchens. And that guy at least managed to coach a full season. He's not just lol cow of the week. He's lol cow of the goddamn year. Nathaniel couldn't hack it whatsoever. Lame pun? Well, he's a shit coach, so it fits. There are many examples of domination in the fictional world. Washington Generals dying at the hands of the Harlem Globetrotters. Sonic the Hedgehog always besting Eggman. And as of late, the Denver Broncos becoming the bitch of the Kansas City Chiefs no matter what they try to do. It's strange because whenever he faces the KC defense, Russell Wilson magically transforms back into Seattle form. Unfortunately, the script writers have favored Kansas City due to Week 18 plot lines. Denver has pissed them away countlessly, so Patrick Mahomes will dominate like he usually does to guide the Chiefs to victory. The Broncos will keep it tight, and even take the lead in more than a few instances in the game. But it just reiterates why Denver's in a mile-high pile of shit this year. They can't seal the deal against anyone, especially the Chiefs. When they hoped to finally one-up them, they failed in their 15th straight contest against their arrow-headed betters. Tough shit, you have to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous laughter from the NFL world. I'd feel bad, but that goodwill ended long, long ago. I don't get why the Chargers played their starters despite having the 5th seed locked up. The Baltimore game was over and they had lost. There was no reason to do this. Unless you were getting paid by Seattle to keep Denver's draft picks better. Why even risk it in such a meaningless affair? Only bad things can happen. And it did with Mike Williams and Joey Bosa being pulled from the game due to injury. A week before the playoffs. Completely inexcusable. All this reinforces is that Brandon Staley is a fucking moron. He's cheated death 6 different times because of Justin Herbert and the NFL being shit. It was only a matter of time before his idiocy cost him. And it may have here. What was it for? The Chargers lost to the Broncos anyway. Why not allow Chase Daniel to throw more than 10 passes in the game again? You would have failed just as badly with your backups. Are you allergic to them? Use your fucking head, man. Jesus. We knew something was wrong in week 1. Witnessing Nathaniel Hackett absolutely butcher concepts that an 8-year-old playing Madden would pick up on was a truly hilarious sight. Blowing it against the team you snagged their franchise quarterback from? We dismissed it as a blip on the radar. What it really signaled was a trend. The Broncos were an outright disaster on offense. The sheer regression of Russell Wilson being killed by an O-line that couldn't block a Twitter troll was merely one piece of the puzzle. Mr. Unlimited hacked up with an axe every week by his own actions and Hackett himself. Or maybe that was the injury report. Poorly prepped, poorly schemed, fighting each other on the sidelines, completely overmatched in most games. The Nathaniel Hackett special. This year proved he was merely brought in to try and woo Aaron Rodgers to Denver. And like he carried Hackett to relevance, Denver carried Nate to the top of a mountain to freeze to death. The first comparison I can make is to the 77 Falcons. With that elite defense being left to dry, it's not a good sign. They had to do something to fix Russell Wilson. They extended him before the season. They're stuck on his agonizing ride. Getting a much more competent offensive mind in Sean Payton should help with that. How much? That depends. They had to trade another first and second round pick to get him from New Orleans. And they wanted Jim Harbaugh and DeMeco Ryans more, but it's a get, I guess. If Peyton turns into Kevin James on a Netflix special, we laugh at Broncos country for the next half-decade.